A to the K.
A to the K.
A to the K. Hello, welcome to the A2theK Wrestling Show. We are Carl and Anthony, and this right here is Road Dogg to bring you A2theK's little known fact of the week.
Oh, you didn't know?
Beautiful. So, in this week's unique segment, we're going to be talking about our little visit to Wales Comic Con and our experience meeting the one and only Bret Hart, the legend Britt Baker, and Mr. however many million years old he is, Luchasaurus. But Anthony, did you know the wrestling world is somewhat synonymous with the comic book world? Yes, of course.
Really?
Everybody knows about Batista as Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, Macho Man Randy Savage in the first Spider-Man movie, and Triple H in Blade.
I was waiting for it. I was like, he's not going to mention Triple H in Blade. But
See,
he did.
I mentioned it, so everyone knows about them. Now we got John Cena as Peacemaker, we've got The Rock as Black Adam, but it doesn't stop there, Anthony. Edge was in CW's Flash as Atom Smasher, Eve Torres was in Supergirl as Maxima, and Samoa Joe is set to voice King Shark in an upcoming Suicide Squad video game. However,
Madness.
not just on screen, on the right-hand side of things, CM Punk has written comics on Thor, Shang-Chi, and Drax. And mad, even I didn't have a clue about this one. Even I say, with such boastiness. Even me.
The Oracle himself.
But Raven, remember Raven? He's actually written for Spider-Man's Tangled Web. So there you go. Who knew? Now you do. And that, Anthony, was A2theK's little known fact of the week. And this is Road Dogg to play us out once again.
Oh, you didn't know?
Oh, yeah.
Never a true word spoken.
Never.
If you're telling us you did know, you're a fucking liar.
So, Anthony, let's kick things off then with WWE in This Week in Wrestling. Do you want to talk about the first highlight this week? And we've even got some nice little graphics on top of the graphics now going forward. If you're on YouTube, look at this delight. We've got a little highlight symbol now. Look at that. Look at that in the bottom corner. Looks dead good.
What's that? So, I'm playing along, by the way. I can't see it.
He'll see it, just like you guys.
So, first one for me, Carl, and I'm sure you're going to agree because I think he is probably one of the main highlights in general for WWE. But being no slouch this week, we've got the opening segment with Seth Rollins, his promo, and then obviously a subsequent quite decent match between him and Balor.
Mm-hmm.
Credit where credit's due, man.
Well, that's it. It's they can't half put on a good match, these two, and it's like Balor. I think he kind of faded into obscurity, didn't he, in his little NXT run that he had. But it's like...
Okay, well, it's difficult to talk about that one because a lot of people seem to love his NXT run. I just, there was nothing to it, really. But, okay. No. If you want to like it, you can like it.
You do that. But yeah, no, I quite enjoyed this, to be fair. I think it feels like Seth's just a constant highlight every week now, just because he comes out and he's all smarmy and he's all, just a horrible human being in the best way. And
he didn't, injure Balor this time and set his career back a little bit. So that's good.
That is
a joke, of course.
That's true. Exactly. You probably want that to happen, you jerk. I'm
not against Balor. I just didn't like his most recent NXT run. I think it was overglorified.
What, Pointy McPointerson?
Mr. Pointy.
That's his gimmick now.
What's the why?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the demon anymore. I'm just going to lean back as far as I can. And yeah, okay. That's a thing, I guess.
Why not? I guess no one else is doing that for good reason. Okay, so the next highlight to talk about, I take your Seth Rollins and I raise you a Liv Morgan, Anthony, because she doesn't half look like she belongs in this main event scene. Don't want to brag. Been saying this for a while now. So I'm glad they finally put on the trigger on her and putting her in that main event picture. I think it's clear she hung in there with big time Bex on the microphone. And I don't know, there's a lot of people, and I'm keen to get your thoughts on this as well. A lot of people don't like the fact that they keep referencing the releases. So obviously Edge did the same as well with the whole Morrison thing.
Here's my 2 pence on it.
Go on.
10 pence, 12 pence. What do you say for the 2 cents? American audience. Here's my 2 cents on it, Carl. Right. I think it was reactionary because of the Punk promo. People may disagree with that or not, but I think it was reactionary. They're referencing WWE, so WWE are going to reference back. Not necessarily targeted to AEW, but they're going to try and... These are some of the as far as I'm concerned, some of the best promos they've done in a little while, and I think they deliberately upped the game for a reason. I personally have absolutely no issue with them referencing the releases. I can see why some people would be against it, because the company are the ones releasing them, and then they're signing off on like using it as a storyline. Feels a little bit insensitive, but at the end of the day, it's relevant to what's going on, if that makes sense. Like, all right, it's not technically true that like Liv Morgan's friends were released to pay for big time backs, but you know, Liv can work with that. Like, she obviously is upset that her friends have been released, so she can work with that and she can use that in this story. So I've nothing against it personally, but I do understand why some people might not be keen on this kind of storytelling.
Yeah, I don't really see it. I agree with you. I don't think it's done in poor taste, but I also definitely think it's reactionary to AEW. And it's funny because they don't even compete with AEW. They're a sports entertainment company, Anthony. Don't even care. Yeah, who?
Oh no.
But yeah, this was, you could clearly see. I mean, not only was there multiple references to it and stuff, but yeah, I honestly thought Liv was really good here. People absolutely lose their minds over Becky, thinking she's some great promo. She's not. She's all right, but I think Liv was really good. It was refreshing, really, because I didn't think she would be able to hang as well as she did. So
you know what though, some things I will say. First one, just in relation to the Becky thing, at this point I actually think she's definitely playing the right character, because like for whatever reason she's been massively overhyped like by the audience since she come back, right? And she was good, and we all remember her sort of breakout story and the whole badass thing when she got her nose broken or busted open, should I say. And we all remember that propelling her into the main event scene. She's definitely a fantastic wrestler, but she's come back and she's sort of squashed Bianca Belair and gone into this heel gimmick and this big time gimmick. And I think it's sort of the right way to do it, because right now everyone is sort of believing that she's like the best thing ever. And I think giving into her own ego is probably, I'd be more frustrated with this whole thing if she was being a face right now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I think I would as well. If she would have come back and they would have just gone, okay, let's dial up the Stone Cold again, because let's face it, that's all they've been doing. Now they've just dialed up the Conor McGregor and gone, well, a partner wears fairy coats. Let's get her to do that as well.
I always see the Conor McGregor thing, but it actually, like, in reference to previous wrestling storylines, she reminds me of like Hollywood Rock. When The Rock come back after being a film star and was just full of himself, she kind of reminds me of that, which is, I think, probably what they might be going for. But I do think at least what she's doing is the best way of executing what she's doing. Like, I'd be so annoyed if they were trying to give her the same sort of push and like basically big time Bex, but with her trying to be a face for the crowd. I don't think it'd work at all. So I think that's good. On top of that, I think what I was really pleased to see social media wise was how many people were so behind Liv Morgan taking the win. Like, they were actually a bit crushed that she didn't. And it's like, okay, that's good, because if they believe that she could win and that she should win, then that's got to be a good sign from an audience standpoint that we're ready for her to be a champion, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I was expecting so many people going, oh, she doesn't even deserve to win the title. And it really wasn't. So many people were annoyed that she didn't get the chance to win. Like, she was never going to win. But so many people like really wanted her to, and I was like quite pleased with that, to be honest. Yeah,
I mean, the only concern with it is that apparently the demos for this week's Raw, where they actually had that match, weren't great in terms of a lot of people were switching off. So hopefully they don't.
Women wrestling.
I mean, the one thing they've been building up as well. So it'd be a shame if that is the case, and it'd be a shame if they kind of try and blame Liv for that. But yeah, we'll have to see. But for me, that was a highlight. Liv, I think she is where she belongs, and long may that continue.
Indeed. Speaking of people being where they belong, Carl, my next highlight is in a similar vein. This is a man who's been there before, but my next highlight, it goes to Kevin Owens and Big E on a level. It's great to see Kevin Owens in the main event scene again. I think it's long overdue. I actually think his run as the champion was rather underrated, in all fairness. But I know a lot of people were quite... Some people don't and probably will never buy him as a champion. And I think that might be some of the issue with it. But if you actually look at his run, I think he handled it really well. You can't call it the best run as a champion ever, but he certainly deserves to be in this sort of main event stage again.
Yeah.
Obviously, I particularly like how he suckered Seth into the match, and I'm hoping he's not just there to eat a pin, which honestly, that's probably what's going to happen. But we can always hope, Carl.
We can. I mean, you'll find out next week if you, for whatever reason, only find out what happens in wrestling via listening to us. But I think that the triple threat may now also be turning into a fatal four-way. So, interesting developments there. But yeah, by all accounts, and believe this if you want to. I don't think anything's been confirmed, but a lot of people are strongly hinting that he's going to be leaving. He's not going to be renewing his contract. So
I think that rumor is it's rife every time now, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he's staying, personally. But
I kind of hope he doesn't, in a way.
Well,
do you know what I mean? And I know I feel like I'm one of these guys now. It's just like, I want to see this guy in AEW too, and everyone, what I mean? I don't want to do that, but I mean, think about how over he was when it was him and Jericho and the Festival of Friendship and stuff like that. He was fucking white hot, and he just hasn't had the opportunity to be back up there again in WWE. So I strongly believe he is a main event star, and I don't think he's going to get that in WWE at the moment. So I think for his own kind of, if he wants to be world champion and stuff like that, could he do that in AEW? Maybe.
I mean, yeah, I take your point. I'm more thinking, because I honestly, I think I'd be with you on this one. I don't want everyone to jump over to AEW, but I do think I'd like to see Owens there. I just think that, Owens is one of them, hasn't he? He's, grown up loving WWE, and I think he'll stay there while he's got the chance to stay there, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
I think he's a... I know a lot of people sort of come at me for this because he came up from the Indies and it was a Guerrilla Pro he was in.
Yeah, it was a Ring of Honor and stuff as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. And so they might totally disagree with me on this, but I think he is quietly a WWE guy. Now he's made it there. I think that was always the aim, and I think he'll stay there as long as he can. Yeah. That is speculative, yeah, because no one knows what his mentality is, and I'm not going to say that I've got some sort of insight into that. But I don't know. I could just see him staying because he just seems to be one of those people, he's always loved Jericho and The Rock and all that growing up. I know Jericho's obviously jumped ship, but I don't know, WWE was the thing, wasn't it? So,
I mean, just to be controversial with it all, who's to say that it'll be his choice? The way they're binning everyone off every 2 minutes, he doesn't exactly fit the mold of what the, I mean, you believe what
there seems
what you
to be
read.
this they want big meaty men now, don't they? So
Well, exactly.
It seems to be this ethos in getting rid of anyone who doesn't cut that mustard. So
exactly.
I mean,
and there's an age factor to it as well.
Then you go, well,
yeah,
well, yeah, there is. Yeah.
So
yeah, the unpredictable state of WWE at the moment. Yeah, like you say, it might not necessarily be his choice.
Yeah,
but I think if it was, I think he'd stay.
Okay, let's see how this develops.
Yeah, we'll see, Carl. We'll see.
You will. And you've got no more hats left to eat, so what does that tell you about how right you are?
Cutting that.
No, sorry about that. Yeah, it was pretty harsh. So the final highlight, believe it or not, and there's only the one from SmackDown, is Brock Lesnar and Sami Zayn. So I was thoroughly entertained by this, to be fair. I don't know how you feel about it. I just think it was hilarious.
I'll tell you now, I'm with you. I actually like seeing this side of Brock. I think it's refreshing.
Yeah, he was. I thought he was great. Just his whole, the whole way he was coming across and stuff. For someone who has had to have a mouthpiece because he can't do a promo or whatever for all these years, just goes to show what we've seen flashes of it in the past when he was doing his mad little stuff back in the day where he was in the Eddie Guerrero feud, or even when he was Money in the Bank and he had his little boom box and stuff.
Yeah,
you can see he's got obviously a lot of personality there and a lot of charisma. So
I think
it's good.
He probably doesn't give himself the credit because by all accounts he's not really a people guy. No. He likes solitude and stuff like that. So I don't even, maybe he doesn't like doing that sort of thing, even if he is quite good at it. But I thoroughly enjoy this side of him. I think it shows something more than just the guy who rocks up and just suplexes everyone. Yeah, no, me too. And fair play to Sammy as well. He played off him fantastically in terms of how he was just clearly shitting himself, but didn't want to kind of get suckered in, but then had to anyway. So yeah, I enjoyed that whole thing, to be fair. Yeah, totally agree. So next it's on to the Oh Shites, unfortunately, but we're sticking with me on this. This is one that I kind of added in, just because I can't confirm this is the case, but I strongly believe it is. It sounds very much like they are piping in crowd noise, especially this week. So I noticed it a lot in a lot of the promo segments.
and it was just really strong kind of crowd noise that just wasn't there if you could see the crowd. And it really, I don't know, it took me out of the show. It really kind of left me a bit, disenfranchised with the actual television product. I don't know whether you picked up on it or noticed it. It could be that it didn't even exist, but to me, it heavily sounded like there was a lot of piped in crowd noise throughout.
I can't sit here and say that I specifically noticed it, but I don't know. I feel like we're getting that used to them doing stuff like that. It's I don't know. It doesn't surprise me at all. I've probably just tuned it out maybe, because they were using it heavily during the pandemic, which understandably in a lot of cases. But I don't know. Like you say, it's really not worrying. It's probably not the right word, but it's disheartening it when they basically know they're not going to get the reaction that they want, so they'll just pipe it in.
Yeah, it sounded like. Have you ever watched an episode of? I'm trying to think, like Raw or even like UFC and stuff like that, where somebody's swearing, and like Sky or someone they won't bleep it out. They'll just play like crowd noise over the top of it, like audience noise. It was the same noise. So I was really just taken aback by it a bit. So yeah, I don't think it's been confirmed that's the case. I've not seen a load of rumblings about it, but to me it heavily sounded like that. So obviously it took me out of the show, guys. And so it's an oh shite as far as I'm concerned.
No, I'm totally with you on that. And again, more the principle of, because I can't say I picked up on it in the same way, but yeah, it would be an oh shite if they definitely have done that. Bastards.
That's it. And obviously, if you are watching this on YouTube, you get to see our glorious new little turd icon in the bottom corner. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Fantastic. So my next one, Carl, is Priest and Cruz, or Apollo, whatever you want to call him. Quite disappointing, and this isn't actually. I had high hopes for Damian Priest, and I feel bad on him because I don't think at this point in his career and at this point on the main roster he should be the one who has to carry something. But that's what I was kind of relying on him to do here. I have no. This is probably going to sound mean, but I have no faith in Apollo being the draw to these two. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, no, it's Damian's going to have to do the work here, and it was just massively disappointing. Yeah, I said that word right. Yeah, disappointing.
Just disappointing.
And yeah, I expected it to be better, and I'm trying to give Priest the credit he deserves, but even he didn't look great here, and I've been so pleased with his run on the main roster that again that makes it even more disappointing in a way.
Yeah,
I don't know. Just none of it worked for me.
It's starting to make me worry a little bit, to be fair, because he came up and then he was put with Bad Bunny, and it was a bit like, oh, okay. And then after the Bad Bunny thing, I think he's been booked really well. And don't get me wrong, he still won this match. It's not like he's being made to lose and things like that. But you had, obviously, the Nakamura thing where he got disqualified at Survivor Series, which made no sense. And now they're putting him in this feud with Apollo, which doesn't really make much sense. And on paper, yeah, this should have been a hell of a match because they're two great athletes, but it just wasn't. I don't know whether it was a lack of chemistry. But yeah.
It's quite possible. I mean, that's the thing. I'm just hoping we can get away from this feud and he goes into something that elevates him some more, because I believe what you're saying there. I do think it's probably a lack of chemistry, because everything else we've seen so far has been fairly decent. Yeah. With the exception of the Nakamura thing, which was just, I would call that a Survivor Series blip, if you will.
Yeah. So the next oh shite for me this week was the Vince McMahon and Austin Theory stuff. Now, I've said before, big fan of Theory. I can see him being a future world star one day if he hones his craft. But I hated this. It just felt so out of place and out of order. Why? Why was it there? Why did they keep cutting back to it so frequently? The whole thing was just the ramblings of a madman in Vince McMahon. Just kept saying stuff, and then Austin Theory would be like, okay, and he'd be like, no, it's not okay. And then that was literally it. But for about 5 or 6 segments, all culminating in him getting a slap in the face because he's being told to expect the unexpected. And it's like,
yeah, I really don't know what they're going for with I don't know, personally, I don't see enough in Theory to understand why it's what does Vince see something in him? Is that why we're getting these sort of things? I really don't understand what's going on there, but none of this helps you to understand where they're heading with this. What's the plan?
it feels like someone said to Vince, we don't want this to just be about the golden egg thing. So, people will be like, oh, they've sold out then. So let's make it into something else where you are still on TV for a bit. And he's just like, okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be because it was awful.
Yeah,
I can't see any end goal with it. But, unlike WWE, of course, because they always fucking, finish up, tie up the loose ends for everything, don't they?
Oh, yeah, constantly.
Yeah, all the time.
Never a thread left.
That in itself is a segment that we need to do at some point in time.
I love it. So we just do maybe a top 10 of unfinished plot lines or something.
I mean, you could do that in over the last year or two. You had the hacker, you had Eric Rowan's "What's in the Cage" thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Two things straight away jump to my head.
Are we thinking failed plot lines? I think there's 2 segments there we could do. We could have a look at maybe we'll try and keep it to 10, but 10 failed plot lines where they have tried to conclude it in such a fucked up way that it's the whole Rowan's spider thing, and then I think we've got ones that were just totally abandoned, and were never spoken of again. I think because they're 2 separate categories. I think because there are some that they've just never gone back to. Maybe one day.
Shout.
Maybe one
Great
day.
Shout. We'll do that at some point. But
love it.
Yeah,
love it. Sounds like a boss idea.
I feel like this is just going nowhere, unfortunately. Theory.
Speaking of things that this is probably a not a good way of putting it because of the news. Speaking of things that are going nowhere, my next Oh Shite, Carl, would be Happy Talk. I mean, it has to be Happy Talk because it still exists. But the weird Drew/Jeff thing, and
look how they massacred my boy. I
don't know, but I don't know. This was obviously a way of getting them both on the show. They obviously didn't have, much going on, I guess. But if they were heading to something, they aren't now, and we'll talk about that in the news. Very sadly. So I mean, this segment was not good anyway. I don't want to talk too much on it because I think the situation with Jeff now has probably sort of changed everything there anyway. But
it does lead you to wonder. They've had nothing for Drew McIntyre other than this, and it's like, well, now that he's not going to be able to carry on this storyline potentially, how do you have nothing for Drew McIntyre? Baffling. How can you destroy somebody so much in such a short space of time? This is the guy who had an entire arena off their feet when he eliminated Brock Lesnar. He didn't get the actual, WrestleMania moments he ever wanted, and then by the time it was this WrestleMania, the fans had already started turning on him. Now, is there even a way back? It's horrendous.
There needs to be, because he should be the guy who faces Roman eventually. Yeah. But, like you say, if they keep doing what they're doing, it's going to seem so unfeasible.
I know.
I need him to face Roman, and you actually go, this guy could win.
Yeah.
Which, at this point, you're like, no, that's never going to happen. He's going to come out swinging a sword about her. Yeah. So as long as we're getting weird segments like this, and that's the only way you're seeing Drew on your TV, massively underutilized, I think it deserves to be an Oh Shite.
I agree. And I would say the same for the whole of SmackDown, really, or at least the rest of SmackDown from this point. I just think everything was so choppy. They were just little 5-minute segments, 5-minute matches. It's inexcusable to allow Sheamus and Cesaro to only go 5 minutes, for fuck's sake. These two have got a hell of a backstory in the bar and everything they've done. And it's just like, here's a little throwaway match between the two. Well, okay. You had the weird Charlotte Flair thing where it was like, okay, Tony Storm's got a revenge by pieing Charlotte this week. Okay. Random tag match, last 5 minutes. Usos and the Xavier Woods, 5 minutes. It's just, I get they're trying to give Brock Lesnar and Roman as much time as possible. And it makes sense because they're the kind of only draw for the whole show.
You don't make more draws that way, and eventually that's going to finish up as a plot. So
exactly. But yeah, it's one of them though. Like, you look at how the rest of the talent has been booked on SmackDown. We've been saying this for a while. If SmackDown didn't have Roman, it would be horrendous.
This is the funny thing. People talk about how great SmackDown is compared to not even just AEW, compared to like Raw and all that. But like you say, I still stand by that statement. Like, without Roman, it'd be just as shit as the rest of them.
Yeah, it is awful. The fact that they're having to bring Brock Lesnar in, to salvage the ratings on Fox. You know, this is prime time. This is the biggest channel they've ever been. It's fucking Fox.
Don't be wrong, we love seeing Lumberbrock, he's boss, but
yeah,
the fact that they have to get him, like you say.
Yeah, it's worrying, to be fair. So, yeah, but you know, the reverse of that is if they gave them more time, look what segments they'd be giving more time to. Like Charlotte and Tony Storm would bloody pieing each other in the face. Do you know what I mean? Like
it's
happy
a good way
talk
of building
stuff.
Tony Storm up, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, all in all, SmackDown just didn't do it for me. So yeah, that, Anthony, was WWE this week.
Certainly was.
So ratings wise, I'm going to give it a 2, and I think the majority of that is because of Raw. I don't think Raw was that bad of a show. It wasn't great. There wasn't a whole lot of amazing moments in there, but all in all, it was okay, and it's better than it has been. And then I guess the Brock and Sami Zayn stuff is the only shining light for SmackDown. So just about scrapes a 2 for me.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I'm gonna have to just jump on the back of that and say yeah, it's a 2 from me as well.
Okay, I'll take it. So let's move on to AEW then, shall we? Anthony, let me talk to you about Bryan Danielson. Obviously, every match he has is excellent, but for me, it wasn't necessarily the match this week. This was one of the weaker matches that he had in terms of who he's faced in the Dark Order, I think. And that's no disrespect to Alan Angels. It's just the fact that there was nothing else that, like, Colt Cabana, he knocked his tooth out. The stuff with Evil Uno and things like that. They've all felt a bit more. This was just a bit more of a throwaway one, but his post-match promo was fantastic, and I think the heel work that he's doing is really building anticipation for Danielson and Hangman. And it's mad to think a month ago we never even expected this match to happen. I remember when we were talking about what the outcome was going to be, we were like, oh, it's going to have to be Miro, because they're not going to. It's got to be, you know what I mean? It's got to be good guy, bad guy. And I just...
Oh, no, they can't have face versus face. It just wouldn't work the same.
Yeah, and I never expected this. And he's fantastic. He's absolutely killing it. So, fair play to him.
You know what? I feel like, I don't know what it is about him. I always forget how good a heel he is until he starts being a heel again, if that makes sense.
It's mad how someone can be so good at both.
Exactly, because he is such a good fucking asshole.
I know.
But, very much looking forward to it, and have all the Dark Order matches he wants in anticipation. Totally down for that.
Well, that's it. He's got John Silver next, I think, hasn't he? So I can't wait for that one, because I'm a big fan of Johnny Hungy as well. But
and he's definitely getting his face kicked.
Of course he is. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they're giving this away just on network TV as well at Winter is Coming is awesome as well. So literally can't wait to see it.
Awesome. Well, Carl, speaking of stuff you can't wait to see, this match isn't really, but deserves to be a highlight, right? And I'll explain why. So my next highlight is Punk versus Moriarty. Moriarty? Yes, I think I'm saying that right. Mm-hmm. So the outcome, okay, very predictable, very obvious. We all knew Punk was not going to lose this one. However, I think they did a great job between the two of them. I think Punk has sort of done this since he come into AEW, where he's been trying to put over people, and I think they don't want him to take a loss, and I totally get that. But this, again, is just this effective. Like, we had a good match, and Moriarty looked great. Do you know what I mean? And that's all you can expect from it, really. We weren't expecting him to win, but if he can come out of it with that sort of a rub of you look. I know a lot of people talk about Punk's in-ring work at the moment. He's still a fucking legend, so if you can come out of it with that sort of match against a legend, then you're doing well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously, on top of that, we're continuing to sort of fan the flames of the whole MJF Punk stuff, and it's hard to beat what we did the previous week, but it's still effective. It still hypes you up, or it still hyped me up anyway. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Punk and MJF face off, and obviously we've got probably more promos to come as well for those two. But it has to be a highlight, Carl. I think it deserves it.
Couldn't agree more. Moriarty, came out of this looking like a star, and I think Punk is a massive part of that. He absolutely sold his ass off for him, which he didn't necessarily need to do. He could have just gone in there and done a squash, but There was
You mean like almost Hulk Hogan-esque?
Hulk Hogan-esque. Not going to work for me, brother. But yeah, so fair play to Punk, and Moriarty came out of it looking great as well. Stop smashing shit up. But yeah, I think definitely it's all about Punk and MJF, and we can't wait to see this. It's just being built up so well, and to your point, it was always going to be hard to top what they did in that first promo. But the fact that MJF continues to get Punk to kind of reluctantly take the mic and have a war of words with him, and then this week I like the fact that it eventually, I mean, similar to the first week, but it eventually just got a bit too much for Punk, where he was like, okay, I want to beat your ass now, and it's almost like MJF's getting the better of Punk in these exchanges, because it's getting to a point where Punk's like, I'm done talking, I want to fight you, and that's what he wants. So
yeah, that's the funny thing, like, and I love how they played it, because so far there are people on either side of the fence. There are people who think that Punk's winning on the whole promo battles. There's people who think that MJF beat him, and I'm like, MJF's goal is to get under the guy's skin. So if you're talking winners, MJF's definitely beating him. But I love the fact that you can't even be sure. If you're a Punk guy, you're like, no, Punk definitely had the better of him, because it's so subjective.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like exactly like you're saying. MJF's winning this because Punk's the one who's getting rattled and wanting to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's the little subtleties like that which they do really well, because Punk has absolutely creamed MJF with a lot of like big zingers, but ultimately MJF's winning the war. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
And I do think this is going to be Punk's first loss.
I'm so on the fence, and that's what I love about it. I can't call it. I'm going to absolutely shit the bed when it comes to trying to call this from a prediction standpoint.
Maybe I'm talking from what I want here, because I really want MJF to take the win. Nothing against Punk. I just think that's the best way of finishing this for these two.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll see. Like you say, it is unpredictable. Could go either way.
If I had to call it, I think Punk's going to win, but I think MJF's going to have Punk beat, and for whatever reason, that's when we're going to see Wardlow combust and go after MJF and cost him the match. That's my prediction.
We'll see, do you think we'd see Wardlow align with Punk and Punk becomes an asshole?
No, I think it's just that it'll get too much. Something will happen with Sean Spears or whatever, and Wardlow will be left out of it, and he'll finally just snap and just turn on MJF, and that'll be why Punk wins, because it'll all be about, Punk said you can't do it without your cronies, but then they'll turn out Punk couldn't do it without one of his cronies, and that's how you build it up. So could be wrong, but something like that I think will happen.
I think there's some legs in that though, because then that sets you up for the rematch, which I already want.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't have to be immediate then, because MJF can go after Wardlow and get that thing out of the way, and then set himself back up for Punk down the line, maybe. But so yeah, great little stuff going on with that. Book it, man. So the next highlight to talk about for Dynamite was the main event, and it was Cody Andrade, and obviously, feel free to chime in on this in a minute. But
I will.
Right, this match honestly was probably the best match that they've had, these two. It was absolutely fantastic up until the finish. Right.
I was a bit annoyed before the finish, but okay.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a sec. But I was thoroughly enjoying it, right? And the finish itself, obviously, for anyone who hasn't seen it, Brandy Rhodes gets in, pours gasoline on a table, sets it on fire, and Cody Rhodes does a reverse superplex on Andrade through the burning table, and suffers incredible burns in the process from doing so. Right, it's Cody, so things are going to be overproduced. Of course they are, right? This didn't make any fucking sense. Are we really saying that this feud has built up so much bad blood in this short space of time? The only way to settle it was to set a fucking table on fire, right? There's overproduced Cody stuff, and then there's this. This is a whole different echelon for Cody, right?
This is why I was annoyed before it, because for me, overproduced Cody stuff was trying to decide what weapon to get.
Yeah.
And getting the sledgehammer to reference Triple H, and then getting the golden shoulders to really fucking put that nail on the head, right? Those were the typical Cody overproductions that I would probably overlook had they not have gone full blown flaming table And I'm not being disrespectful to Cody. He sort of put his body on the line there for our entertainment, and I will always respect that.
Yeah.
As a person, he's an awesome guy. But this is the reason that people are starting to fucking boo him.
Yeah. You know what I mean though? He's Marmite. He is such Marmite, because on the one hand it's like, holy shit, he pulled out a flaming table spot. And, you know, looking at this image now of him going through the table, you look at the entire crowd and they're all like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, and they're all into it. But the fact is, it's Cody that's doing it, and it's like, fucking just have a normal match, man. You don't have to be the fucking, you know, steal the show every week and make it about how you can, you know, have this moment every week. It just doesn't need to happen. I was also massively thrown off by how sunburnt his back was, because did you see him fighting through the crowd and his back was flaky as fuck, and I was like, what is this? I thought there was like a problem with the fucking screen or something. I was like, what's going on? But I'm guessing it was sunburn, so even worse. Not only did he already have sunburn, he got whatever degree burns on top of the sunburn. Like, holy crap. Yeah.
But he did it for us. He did it for us.
And I feel so bad, because we do this all the time. Like, you know, I have got, you know, nothing but niceties to say about Cody Rhodes. Like, I think he's fantastic. He just needs to just have some, just take away all this fucking grandeur of what he does and just put on a fucking dead good match.
Right, it's slightly related, right? There's a chap on TikTok who is a wrestling fan. And I want to mention him because I think he hit the nail on the head over Cody, right? So if anyone's interested, if anyone's a TikToker and they want to check out Smithception, he's a really cool guy. I think he's really sort of knowledgeable on wrestling and very interesting to watch. But one of the points he was making about Cody is it's not about how good a wrestler he is or how talented he is or any of that sort of stuff. The reason people are starting to hate him is because we get to watch things like Roads to the Top, and we get to see what his life is like, right? And we go, okay, so he's got plenty of money, he's living perfect fucking life basically, gets to do his dream job, you know, and then comes out and tries to be like underdog, man of the people. And it's just, it's not a pill you can swallow.
No. Like,
you're not an underdog. It's not like he articulates it much better than I've just done. So I would definitely check out his TikTok on that point. But that's the bit that's what I realized is like, yeah, because even like in this Andrade thing, he's like the underdog, isn't he? He's trying to overcome Andrade. He's trying to, and it's like, you're not an underdog. You were like the executive vice president of this company when it fucking started. You're minted, and you're doing whatever the fuck you want in life. You're not the underdog, so don't try and sell that story. It doesn't. We can't believe it. We can't buy it.
Yeah, it's an excellent point, to be fair. Like, because we do know so much about his real life and who he is and all that kind of stuff, it is really hard to fathom why, you know, you need to root for the guy, I guess, in that sense, because
that's the thing.
He's
and
got
I think
enough.
That's the trouble. Like, he's too much of an open book, I suppose, because it's hard to suspend disbelief when we know so much about him, and it's like, oh yeah, you're really going through. It's really hard, isn't it? Really hard for you, Cody.
I mean, saying that though, I don't know, because I honestly can't put my finger on it, because early on in AEW, he was fantastic. He was phenomenal. Fantastic promos, relatable. You could tell that he cared so much, and obviously whenever he's mentioning his dad and like the emotion there, and he loves the business and he's created this thing, and you proper were just like, fucking yeah, Cody. But something's just something happened, and I can't pinpoint the time when it did, where it's just been a complete downward spiral for him as a character.
Personally, I actually think it's been a downward spiral ever since MJF.
Really?
Yeah. I think he had the MJF thing, and who could be more unlikable than MJF? Everyone he's faced since has not been quite the same heel level. And he had the TNT title run, but even that, he had to sort of overproduce it, and then he had to dye his hair black because he lost the belt to Brody and stuff like. Even those sort of things were getting ridiculous, and he's just sort of spiraled ever since then, really, into this sort of, I don't know, unaware sort of character that he is right now. I don't know, but and again, it's not anything to do with him. Like I don't. We're not sort of sitting here going like Cody's fucking awful. He's not. He's He's an amazing wrestler. He's amazing talent. It's just he needs to turn heel. There's no two ways about it. Turn heel.
Yeah, something's got to change, hasn't it? So yeah, that would be the easiest.
Be the big time Bex of AEW.
God, yeah. I mean, you're right though. You've got a point. Like. That is the lifestyle that in his private life he tries to uphold. He's there with his little cigars every 2 minutes and, trying to be like the man. So, yeah, do that and eat up the heel reaction.
Exactly. Lean into it. So, yeah. So, sorry, I just wanted to mention that and have that little rant. Yeah. Anyway, my next highlight. Oh, that was a highlight? Wow. Sorry. I'm sorry, Carl. I took your highlight and turned all negative about it. It was a really good match. My next highlight, and I believe the last highlight, Sammy Guevara versus Tony Nese, and just the fact that another fantastic start to Rampage, or another fantastic start to any sort of Dynamite show. They always manage to open shows fantastically, and these two I think are really well paired. Actually, they're both fantastic. They both have such great agility, and I don't know what it is about Sammy, but I always like. Every time he's in the ring, I realise how good he is, if that makes sense. I seem to forget that he's actually really good in the ring.
Yeah.
Probably because people seem to fixate on the couple of botches he's had, like with the Matt Hardy stuff in the past and stuff. But he's a really talented guy. And I always enjoy seeing the display of that talent, to be fair. I think they both handled this really well. Really good match. Great way to kick off the show.
Completely agree. And I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head with that. It's so true. Every time you see a Sammy Guevara match, you just go, God, this kid's good. He's so good. And every single time you watch him, he just kind of reminds you of that. So, yeah, I think he's great. And fair play to Tony Nese as well. I can't really say that I watch much of his stuff in WWE to the point where I'm like, I can't really say, oh, yeah, this is what I was expecting or anything like that. But he was really good. So I think the match itself was really good. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of high spots, a lot of agility, as you said. And there was a couple of times where you're like, oh, God, could Tony Nese take this? But that's what you want from a match. It's definitely what you want from a kickoff of a show. So, yeah.
I know spoilers for next week, but I'm terrified about next week's.
Yeah.
Sammy better keep that belt, that's all I'm saying.
Please keep the belt. So the only one Oh Shites for AEW this week, and I'm going to keep saying it until it's not the case anymore, and that is going to be the whole Dante Martin, Team Taz, Leo Rush love triangle thing that's going on.
Just what?
Yeah. What? Now, I don't want to give any spoilers for this week, and I haven't seen it myself, but I believe there may be some developments on this next week, and hopefully they are positive ones, so we will see. But I can't confirm or deny that at the minute because I haven't seen it. But yeah, something definitely happens with Dante and like Ricky Starks and the like, so let's see. Let's see what goes on there. But yeah, as per this week, that was just shit, and it needs to stop. So, AEW, Anthony, what are you thinking?
I'm probably going to go with a 3. It was great. It wasn't like the best AEW we've ever had, but it was a really solid week, I think.
Yeah. And once again, I concur. I'm going to go with a 3 as well. We are just too similar.
He's in a pod,
or maybe we're just so in sync now with how we score these things that
just like score them film.
Yeah. That's it. So, yeah, fair play for AEW. Once again, wins the War of the Week. In terms of what's going on with the rest of the promotions this week.
Yeah, I want to ask you about this first one. Go on.
Okay, so we had, obviously, NWA Hard Times 2, and Mickie James defending her Impact Knockouts title at NWA Hard Times against Kiera Hogan, managed to retain the belt. So,
only a small question on that. Obviously, Mickie James retained the belt, as she should, friend of the show, so absolute legend, should have the belt forever now, as far as I'm concerned. Didn't Kiera Hogan sign with AEW? I thought she signed with AEW.
I think she did.
I'm not seeing her in AEW for a while now. She's here on NWA.
I think she did, but then didn't she then change her mind or something? It's a really good point. We'll have to look into that.
Okay. I was hoping you'd know, Carl. I put you on the spot for a reason here.
Well, exactly. You have put me on the spot because I remember seeing that she was All Elite, but I also remember seeing something about her saying that Oh no, she is definitely signed, but she has done an interview recently saying that she doesn't know where she would fit in at the moment in AEW.
So she's like still signed, but you've nothing for her. She's in catering, as it were.
Maybe. But obviously, allowing her to kind of go into Impact and go into NWA and stuff like that is been great. And
that's the thing. Like, they've always had a working relationship with both companies, so I'm not surprised to see her here. I'm just surprised that we've not seen her in AEW.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. But I'm glad these two got to run it back. Obviously, we saw how much it meant to Kira after the first match she had with Mickey. So the fact that you've had to, being able to do it again, I think is really good. And also sticking with NWA, so Trevor Murdoch defended the NWA title, but Matt Cardona showed up and laid him out, seemingly setting up a future NWA title match. Matt Cardona is everywhere.
Good old Matt.
Good old Matt.
I mean, not everywhere. Like, he's some places. Like, you don't see him on a lot of podcasts, for instance.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Saying.
Yeah. Bit picky about the ones he shows up on.
And, appearing on that wrestling figures one for some reason. Not sure what that's about.
Yeah. What is that? But no, so yeah, Matt Cardona, fair play to the guy. Another bit of feather in his cap here in NWA.
You know what, I think he's such a what's the word? He's a great story for someone who got released by WWE and didn't have to find another company desperately. He's just totally fucking enjoyed his time. I don't know, not everyone can have that situation, but he's not gone to AEW and it's worked out from there. He's just fucking gone around a few places that he likes, and he's already killed it in GCW. He's had some time in AEW. Now he's gonna have some time in NWA. More power to him, man. I think that's a really cool. It's an uplifting story in it to see how well he's doing independently.
Yeah. I think he tweeted out recently, didn't he, that WWE was his developmental, which I loved. Absolute savage. So that was everything else that happened. Well, not everything else, but all we're going to talk about in terms of what happened this week in wrestling.
The stuff did happen, guys.
I'm sure it did. We didn't watch it, but I'm sure it did. So another fun-filled week in the world of wrestling, and we will be taking you through some very breaking news in this week's Ringside Report, as well as a little segment talking about our time at Wales Comic Con. So until then, here is the one and only Griff Garrison to play you out this week.
This is Griff Garrison, and you're listening to A to the K.
A to the K. A to the K.
A to the K.